Hello everyone. So in this short course, we're going to download MySQL Workbench, which is available for both Windows and Mac. We will then connect to Classic Models database and learn and write some basic SQL queries. We will then download the free version of Tableau Public and connect to a Netflix dataset and create a basic dashboard like this. You can access the dataset in the description in this video. On one page will just be a single title filter where we can search for a movie or TV show and it will give an overview. The other page will just show a breakdown of how many movies and TV shows there are, what their release year was, what their rating is, and what year they were added to Netflix. It won't get too advanced, but if you do want to learn more, I have added a link in the description to access my Udemy course, which covers SQL, Excel, Tableau and Power BI, and you can see which topics are covered here. And we will create two dashboards on Tableau. One will be with a bike sales dataset and the other will be a Washington electric vehicle dataset. We will also create some dashboards with Power BI, and this is an example of one using the same Classic Models dataset that we will work with in this free course today. Okay, so let's get started, and we'll start by downloading MySQL Workbench. And you'll see in the description also I've added chapters. So to actually download MySQL Workbench, I added two separate tutorials depending on whether you're a Windows or a Mac user. So you only need to watch the part which is relevant to you. And if you want to skip the SQL part completely, you can go straight to Tableau as well, because it's a different data set. So in this video, I'm going to guide you through downloading MySQL Server and MySQL Workbench. So what I've done, I've typed into Google, download MySQL Server, and I'm just going to click on the top link. And from here, you can see we have the option, or you could just go straight to this website if you like, dev.mysql.com/downloads/MySQL. And then if we click into go to download page, we have two options. So I'm going to click on the first one. It's a smaller download. And you may want to log in or sign up, but I'm just going to click no thanks, start my download. And then you'll see that it has started to download. So once it has finished, we can just click on open. And now you can see it's opened MySQL installer. So for setup type, we have a few options. We have server only, client only, full, or custom. So I'm going to select custom, because we don't want all the products. So for MySQL servers, we'll just click into the latest one. So for me, it's 8.0.33. And then we can click on this arrow just to bring it across to products to be installed. And then if we minimize this, for applications, we'll expand MySQL Workbench and we'll also get the latest one and bring it across. And then under MySQL connectors, I just need to download a connector. Again, it will be the latest one. So if we then click on next, these are ready to install and we can just click on execute. And I'll just pause the video now while I wait on these to install, as it may take a while. And then you will see this screen where it's ready to configure the product. So we can just click on next, and we'll keep config type as development computer, and you can leave everything else the same. So I'm going to keep my open Windows firewall ports for network access ticked. So let's just click next. It does recommend a strong password for authentication. So we'll just click on next, and you can enter any password you want here. And we'll use this later, so just remember it. And then repeat it. And then we can click on next. And I would recommend starting the MySQL server at system startup. And yeah, I'm going to grant full access. And then we can execute this. Yeah, I'll just pause the video again here. This may take a while. Okay, so now everything's been done. We can just click on finish, next, and installation is complete. So I'm going to start MySQL Workbench now. Okay, so I already have a connection set up here, and I can enter it by just right-clicking on Open Connection. You just need to type in the password that we just created. Okay, but if you don't have a connection, you can just in your home add a connection. You'll see the plus icon beside MySQL Connections, and here you can just give it a name. So for example, we'll be using the classic models schema, and then you can save everything else as is. And if you click on test connection, you'll just need to enter the password again, and then you can see it's been successful, and then we would save it. Okay, so now that we have MySQL installed, we can just right click and open our connection that we've just created. And you can just save the password if you like, just so that you don't have to type it in every time. And then to set up our schema that we'll be using, the classic models. So I've added a link in the description, which will direct you to a document with the query which creates the schema. So if you click into it, Control and A and Control and C to copy it all. I'm just going to paste it into a new query here. So you can open a new query at the top left and just click Control and V. And then what we can do is just, we want to run all of this. So again, Control and A to select it all. And you'll see this lightning bolt just to execute it. And then if we drag up from the bottom, we can see that it's all been successful. So now we can just right click our schemas and refresh all, just on sys, and you'll see classic models will show up. And then we have our tables here. So now we're ready to start querying. So in this video, we're going to download MySQL and MySQL Workbench for Mac. So if you go to mysql.com on either Google Chrome or Safari, you can just go to Downloads. And then if we scroll to the bottom here, you'll see there's an option that says MySQL Community Downloads. So we can just click into this. And then what we want to download is MySQL Community Server, which you can see here. So I'll just click into this. So you'll notice that we can only see Mac OS 13. And if you wanted to download a older version, you'll need to go to the archives. Yeah, whenever we select OS version, you can only see Mac OS 13 here. But what we can do here is if you scroll up to the top, and then to the right of general availability, you'll see archives. So we'll just click into this, and then under product version, you'll see there are many options. So what you'll need to do is just find the product version that will work for your version of Mac. So for me, it is 8.0.18. So I'll just click into this, and then you can see it's compatible with High Sierra, which is the version of Mac that I'm using here. So I'm just going to go ahead and download, and we want to download the DMG archive. Okay, so we've just downloaded it now, and you'll see now that we can just double click the package once it's downloaded. And then we'll need to click on continue to allow it to install. So you can read these online resources if you like. You have 3 links here, but I'm just going to go ahead and click on continue. And then we have our license that you can read through. So we need to agree to it, and then you can change the install location if you like, but I'm just going to go ahead and click on install. And here you'll need to insert your password that you use to log into your Mac, and then click on install software. Okay, so now it's just installing. And from here, we'll just need to create a password to log in to MySQL. So if you just click next and then you can enter a password, and we'll need to remember this because you'll need to use it whenever we log into MySQL Workbench. And I would leave ticked Start MySQL Server, and then we can just click on Finish. And again, we're just going to need to enter our password that we use to log into our Mac. Okay, so now it has all downloaded. We can just close out of this, and then I'm just going to keep this. And then what we need to do is go back to our Chrome, and then if you hit back, we want to now download MySQL Workbench. So again, you're going to need to select the product version that you selected for MySQL. So for me, it's 8.0.18, and then we'll just click on Download. And then once you have downloaded and opened it, you'll see a page like this. So we need to copy MySQL Workbench across to Applications. So you just drag and drop it in. Okay, so now we're done with the installation. Now what you want to do is just press Command and Space, and then we want to search MySQL Workbench. And then we'll just double click, and then you can open this. And you should see something like this. So if you don't have a local instance here already, I'll just show you how to add a new connection. So we just click the plus icon here, and then all we need to do is give the connection name. So I'm just going to name this Classic Models because that's the name of the schema that we will be using in this course. And then all we also need to do is click on Store in Keychain. You'll see it just beside password. So if we click on this, you just need to enter the password you created whenever we set this up. And then we can click on OK. And then that's it. So we can click Test Connection, and you can see it's been successful. So now I'll just click on OK and OK again, and now you can see the connection. So let's just click into this. Okay, so now we can copy our script. So I've added a link to this document in the description if you want to click into it. Hit Command and A to select all, and then Command and C to copy it. And then in our query in MySQL Workbench, we just select Command and V, and that will just paste it all in. So we want to execute all of this. So again, Command and A, and you'll see this lightning bolt at the top. So we just need to execute this. And then if you drag the bottom up, you'll see that they've all been successful. So that has created our schema. So if you click into schemas and right click, refresh all, now Classic Models will show up, and now we can see all our tables and we can start querying from. Okay, so that is it. We've downloaded MySQL Workbench and we have access to our data now. Hi, so welcome back everyone. So in this video, we're going to look at the select statement. So every query in SQL needs a select and from statement. Select is used to state which columns you want to display, and each column name must be separated by a comma. The name of the table you want to query is then entered after from. After this, we can add where to show any conditions we might want to apply. This can be, for example, where the name equals John. We can add multiple conditions by separating them with and. If you want to show every column from a table, you can use a star instead of entering every column name. If we want to show data where only one of two or more conditions must be met, we can use or after the where clause. We also might want to show data where something is not equal to a value. For example, sales not equal to 0. You can do this by entering either of these operators. Let's take a look at some examples. So the first query here will show all customers whose last name is not equal to Young. You'll also notice that I have to put Young inside quotation marks because it is a string. Contact last name is a string data type. So let's have a look at this in MySQL Workbench. Okay, so I'm just inside MySQL Workbench here. So the first thing I'll do is I double click Classic Models so that it's bold. That means that whenever we're writing queries, we don't have to tell the query which schema we want to query from. It already knows that it will be Classic Models. So I'm just going to open a new query here. There's a little plus SQL here. And what I'll do is just start writing select star, and we'll just show everything from the customers table first. And you can see the third column here is called contact last name. And if we order this, you can click on the column name and you can order it, click it again, and it will be in descending order. We have a few people whose surname is Young. So we can remove these people by just adding in our where statement. So I'll just do where contact last name is not equal to Young, and we need to put Young in single quotation marks. And it needs to be the same case sensitivity as we see displayed in the data. So you can see it's a capital Y. And for not equal to, I will use the left and right arrow, and we just hit Control and Enter, and it will run that query for us. And now we can see there isn't anyone called Young in the output. Okay, so the second query here shows the 6 columns: customer name, first name, last name, phone, city, and country from the customers table, where the country is equal to the USA and the first name is Julie. And the second query shows the first and last name for customers from either Norway or Sweden. Okay, so I'm just into our old query here, and you can open a new query if you like, but what I often do is just put a semicolon after the first query, and then you can start writing another query. So I'll just start typing in the 6 columns that we wanted to display, but if we actually write from our table name first, once we start to type the columns that we want to display, you can see a drop down that shows the column name. So it's probably better to write from our table name first. So we just want the contact last name, the phone, city, and the country. So let's just run this output first. So we can see here country USA is there, so we'll just add that in our where clause, where country equals open quotation USA, and the first name, the contact first name, is equal to Julie. Close quotation. So I've just run that, and you can see there's 4 results here. 4 people named Julie from the USA. So I'll just put another semicolon, and then we can start onto that second query. So we want to show the first and last name. I'll just copy the query from above actually, because we're using the same table, and I can just delete the columns that we don't want to display. So we only want to show the first name and last name. And we only want to see this where the country is equal to Norway, or, so we need to write the country name again. So you can't just write where country equals Norway or Sweden. So we just write where country equals Norway or country equals Sweden, and then we can see the 5 results here. So you can see if we did just try and show, let's just show the city and the country as well. So we can just see that where each person's from, and we can see it's Norway and Sweden. But if we did try and just do it where country equals Norway or Sweden, and we try to run this, you can see it only returns the results for Norway. And in some databases, it would actually return an error here because that's an error code. We need to actually add in country equals Sweden as well. We can use aggregate functions on any column which displays a value. And if you look at the example here, you can see we're showing the sum of the amount from the payments table to show the total payments received for each date. You'll notice I've also named this column total payments by using as. Otherwise, the column would just be named sum. You also have to group by any column that you are displaying which is not an aggregate function, and group by is added after the from statement. So let's run this short query in MySQL Workbench. Okay, so I've opened up a new query here. So before we add our group by and our sum, let's just have a look at the table. So it's the payments table. And if I run that query, you can see there's 4 columns here. There's a payment date, and then there's the amount as well. So I'll just click the payment date column here. So you can see that some dates, such as the 21st here, has 2 payments. So if we wanted to sum the amount per date, that's where we use our sum and group by statements. So the first column will display is the payment date, comma, and then if we just type sum, open brackets, then we need to enter our column name, which is amount. So we'll just name that as payments, from payments, and then so again, if we try to run that, you'll see there's an error because we need to group this by the non-aggregate function field that we're displaying, which in this case is payment date. So you can see the actual error code is that we need a group by. So that's added after from and our table name. So we just group by payment date. And now if we run it, we're going to have each payment date and the amount that was paid. Let's just name it payments. We'll name it total payments. And I'll just run that again so you can see, yep, the column names here. So let's order this by the payment date. So we order by after our group by. And I'll just copy and paste the payment date column name. Run that, and then it's going to be ordered in ascending order for each payment date and the amount paid. So you can also just write the column number. So in this case, it's just 1. And it will do the same. But it is good to actually write out the column name. It's a personal preference. I do sometimes just write numbers, particularly whenever there's a lot of columns. But for now, we'll start by just writing the column names. Okay, so now we're going to look at inner join. In my Udemy course, we look at inner left and right join, but for this free course, we'll just be looking at inner join. So inner join is used to join 2 tables together using a common identifying key. So if you look at this diagram, for example, you can see each table in the classic models database and each column in each table. For the customer and orders table, for example, we have the customer number field in both tables. So we can use this to join these 2 tables together. So looking at inner join first, as you can see in the syntax, inner join comes after the first table name, followed by the name of the table you want to join to. After the second table, we specify which column we want to join on by entering table 1's name, a full stop or period character, and the name of the column, an equal symbol, and the same key in table 2. Inner join returns only matching rows and will exclude any row which does not satisfy the joining condition. So let's look at an example here. This query joins the customers table to the orders table. You'll also notice I have named each table T1 and T2. This makes it easier to write and saves us putting the full table name in the on condition, since we can just use this alias. This star will also return all columns from both tables. So let's look at this in MySQL Workbench. Okay, I'll open up a new SQL query here. And we'll just select all columns from the orders table. And you can see here, the last column is the customer number. So let's just name our orders table T1. And we'll do an inner join of our customers table. And we'll name it T2. And we just want to join that on T1 dot customer number equals T2 dot customer number. I just need to put a full stop. And now we can see we have all columns from both tables. And all columns from the second table will display on the right hand side. So these are all the columns in the customers table. And because we're doing an inner join, not all customers may show up here. So there may be some customers in the customers table who aren't being displayed here because they didn't have an order, as inner join will only return matching rows. So what I can quickly do is I'll just look at this order number 10100, and then let's open up a new SQL query, and we'll do a select star from from orders, where the order number equals 10100. Okay, so we have this one order, but we only have the customer number of 363. So in a separate query, if we do a select star from the customers table, where the customer number equals 363, just need to add number. Then we can see this is the name of the customer, Dorothy Young Online Diecast Creations. But because we've joined these two together, it's all being displayed in one row. So you can see Dorothy Young Diecast Online Diecast Creations is all in the first row here. Something I would like to add actually is, so we have customer number here twice. It's in both tables. So if we only wanted to see customer number 363, we can't just add where customer number equals 363, because this has an ambiguous column name. It doesn't know which table we are querying customer number from, and you can see the error here. Column customer number in where clause is ambiguous. So we just need to specify which table we want to show that from. So I normally just go with the first table, T1, and then it will run okay. So I'll just remove that. One note I would like to add actually is, if you remove inner here, and if we just did a select all from orders join customers, MySQL Workbench will automatically do an inner join. It will treat this as an inner join. So in actual fact, the word inner doesn't have to be used, but it is good practice to use it. Okay, so that is it for the SQL part of this course. It was really just an introduction, and we covered select from and where, also inner join and sum. But there's much more to SQL. In my Udemy course, we do learn about subqueries, CTEs, case statements. These are topics I use every day, and we'll also do some analysis and use these and visualize the output with the same data set, the same classic models data set. So now we're going to work with Tableau using the Netflix data set. Okay, so in this section, we're going to download and work with Tableau Public. So the first thing you'll need to do is download Tableau Public. You can type it into Google, or you can just visit this webpage, public.tableau.com/app/discover. And at the top, under Create, it says Download Tableau Desktop Public Edition. So if you click on that, it will download it. But you will need to create an account, so you can do that by you can click into Sign In here. I already have an account, but if you don't have one, you can just click Create an Account here. And then once you have it downloaded, you can open up a new workbook, and you should be in a page like this. So this is where we'll be working from. But the first thing we'll need to do is connect to our data set, our Netflix data set. So you'll see a link for it in the description of this video, and you can connect via Google Sheets. So at the top left, under Connect to Data, we have a Google Drive option here. So if you want to click on that under To a Server, it will open up your browser, and you just need to choose your account that you would have just created and allow Google to access it. And then we can close out of this, and then you'll see the shared drives that you would have clicked into, or shared with me it may be. But because I created it, it's just under my drive. So I'm just going to click into Netflix data set here. You can just double click it, and then it will load the data set. It may just take a second. Okay, and here you can see we're in our data source pane now on the left, and here we can see all our data. So let's just have a quick look through it. So we have our show ID, our type, this is our unique identifier. We have our type, which is our movie or TV show. And then we have our movie or TV show name, which is under title, the director, cast, and country. So you'll notice that these are just comma separated, and it will have multiple entries inside the single value. So unfortunately, this is all we'll be working with today, but in my Udemy course, we do split these out and make it a relational database so that they can be identified based on the show ID. Then we have date added, release year, rating, duration, listed in, and the description of the movie or TV show. And on the left here, we have our data types here. So ABC is just a string or text type. We have a country here, which means it's a geography type. And then we also have date and number for date added and release year. Okay, so at the bottom here, we'll just open up a new sheet. So we'll work on our first dashboard, which will be the one that contains the 3 charts. Now to create a chart, you can see at the top right here, we have Show Me. Here we'll have the options for what types of charts we want to add. But we can also do it under the Mark section here. You can see here we have a choice of bar chart, line chart, etc. So on the left hand side, we have our fields which are in our table, such as country and date added. So you can drag it into columns or rows at the top here. So we'll start with our rating. We can drag rating into our row, we'll bring it into our columns. Now our data it's not as clean as we would like. There is a mix up here, and some of them are showing our duration instead. But we're just going to exclude these, so I'll just right click and exclude it. And we'll also exclude our nulls because there are some missing values. Okay, and then what we can bring in now is we want to count how many show IDs fall under these ratings. So show ID, so if we just dragged it into our text, it's going to display every single show ID. So let's just remove that. And instead, if you right click and drag show ID into text, we have the option to count or count distinct. But because everyone is distinct anyway, we'll just click on count, hit OK, and then it's going to count how many show IDs fall under each category. And we can also just, at the moment it's just showing the text value, but we can also just drag it up to rows, and then it's going to automatically create a bar chart for us. And we could change this to a line chart, for example. but I'm happy with the bar chart. The only thing I would like to do is order it to show the highest on the left hand side. So we just do that by simply, beside our title here, our axis title, we can click on the order button. Okay, so we'll leave this chart like this for now. And we can rename this sheet. We'll just right click and rename it rating chart. And then now we can add another sheet. So just next to it, we have the plus new worksheet here option. And we'll add our next chart, which will be we'll add our area chart, which shows the release year. So release year, you can see here, we'll just drag into columns as well. And then if we, same as before, right click and drag show ID into our rows, we'll just count them. Here we have how many shows were added, sorry, the release year of all the shows that are on Netflix. So there's not many, but because one show was released in 1925, it's showing all of this. I'm just going to show them for every release year after 2000. So to do that, we can also drag release year into the filters pane here, and then we have the option to change it. So I'll change it to 2000 to 2021, and then if we click on apply, it's going to filter it now for only shows added which were released after the year 2000. And then we'll change this chart type to be an area. So under our marks, we can change it to area here. And what we can also do is we can split the visual to show which shows are a movie and which shows are a TV show. And that's very straightforward. All we do is drag type into color. And now it's split and we have a new legend appear. So movies are in the blue and TV shows are in the orange. Okay, we'll probably change those colors, but we'll do all that whenever we're putting it together in our dashboard. So I'll just right click sheet 2 and rename this area chart. Okay, so we'll make our final chart here. I'll just add a new sheet, and this is going to be a column chart which just shows the date the movie or TV show was added to Netflix. So on the left hand side we have a date added field, so we'll just drag that into rows, and we'll exclude our nulls again by right clicking and excluding them. And what we can do is we can count our show ID. So I'll drag it into our text and we'll just count them. So yeah, most current shows were added in 2019, as you can see here. But yeah, a lot were added after 2017. So let's view this. On the top right, we'll just show, you can show any type of chart you like, but I'm going to just show it as a column, horizontal bar actually. So I want to I'll also order this. I'll just click out of that by the count of show ID. So just beside the axis title, we can show the highest at the top, so 2019. Okay, and then I'll rename this horizontal bar. Okay, now we have our 3 charts. There's 3 sheets, so we can put these all together into a dashboard. So just beside our add new worksheet, we have a add a new dashboard option. So let's click on that. First we'll just rename it Netflix overview. Okay, so by default it puts the size at 450 by 560. So I want to change that. You could set it to automatic and it would be much larger, and it will change size depending on the screen you're viewing it on. But I'm going to fix my size, and I'm going to fix the width to be 1400, and that will automatically change the width, and I'll set the height at 750. Okay, so now we have a new dashboard we can add these sheets to, and you can see on the left hand side our 3 sheets are here that we just created, and we can just drag them in. But we have objects on the bottom here, and I want to drag in a blank container first, a blank object. So if you drag it in, now we have something that we can bring our sheets into, and we can split this in half if we want. So we could also add a container, a horizontal container, which means the sheets that are brought inside it will display horizontally, and vertically means the sheets would display vertically. So I brought in a horizontal container to split it in 2, and then the way I would like to show it is, let's show our rating chart on the left hand side, and then I'll bring in our area chart below it. So you can drag it and you'll see the gray shading. So that would actually bring it to the left. But if we bring it, our arrow, our cursor down a little, you'll see it's highlighted just below it. And that means the area chart displays below. So you'll see it's automatically brought in our type. This is our legend. And we do want to display this. Now, currently we have a tiled dashboard, which means it's very organized, but we could make it floating. So I'll make this legend floating so that we can just drag it anywhere. Because if we currently drag it here, for example, it's going to take up the whole right-hand side. But under our little more options drop down, you'll see an option to make it floating. And that just means that we can now, when we hover at the top and hover for our arrows, we can drag it anywhere. So I'll display it here. And then our final chart will be our horizontal bar. I'll bring it into the right hand side here. So it's going to split this, but I can just remove by deleting the container. And then what we also want to do is, by clicking into it, we can hit more options, fit entire view, and that's just going to fit the entire chart into the container. And we may want to do the same. Yeah, it's already done it for our other charts. Oh, I've just removed the title. I can bring that in again, but actually I don't want to show these titles, so we can right click and hide them as well. Okay, so let's just do some formatting. It's still quite basic. I want to add a header. I can do this by bringing in a blank container to the top, and then we can drag it up. So you'll see the arrows, and then it allows you to just make it smaller. And this is, I just want to put a Netflix logo in the top left. I'll leave it like this for now, and I want to change the whole background as well. I want to change the color of it. So to do that, we want to select our background container, and we can do that by clicking into any container, more options, select container tiled, and then on the left hand side under layout, this is where we can change our background, and I just want to make it black. And you can change any color, but this HTML of just black, I'm going to leave it like this. Now you will notice our sheets that we've added still have our white background, so we can right click into these and format them, and we can just change that. So under our fill bucket here, we have a default worksheet color of white. If we change that to none, it's just going to remove that, or you can make it any color you like. You could make it less black, for example, slightly gray, just so that they stand out. But I'm just going to change it to none, and just to match the background. So I'll do that for all the sheets first. Okay, and I don't like any of these grid lines as well, so let's remove all of them. Under our format still, we have our option for, on the very right, we have lines, and we can move our grid lines. So these are our row grid lines, so we'll click into rows and just click none. These ones on the right chart are our column grid lines, so again I'll just click none under columns. And our area chart has both, so you can remove both rows and columns, or just under sheet we'll just click none. Okay, and then I'll do some final formatting. We'll hide our field labels. I also want to change the color. It's very hard to see, and we can do it for all our charts. So I'll close out of this, and under format our workbook, it will change the color of all our fonts here. If we just did each chart individually, we can right click and format the font of each chart individually, for example, to be white. But let's do all of them at once by, at the top, formatting our workbook and our worksheets to be, I'll go for this color here, this second gray sort of color, white gray, and we'll make them a bit bigger as well. We can go maybe 11, because I'm going to delete these titles as well. We can right click and edit our axes and just remove our titles. You can keep them if you like, but I'm happy just leaving it like this. I'll keep our release year one. And then I'll just hide this field label as well. And we can also display our values. So if we go more options and go to sheet, I'll just close this. We can drag our count of show ID by right clicking and bringing it into label, and it will count the show ID and show it as a label. So currently it's showing on the right hand side and it's that gray color, so we can't actually see it. But if we click into label, under alignment, we can show it on the left hand side, and then it's going to display them inside the bars. But let's just make them a bit smaller. So under font, yeah, if we go size 9, for example, we're going to actually be able to see them. And then in our dashboard, we can view it then. Okay, so the final thing I'll do is just bring in our image, our logo. So on the bottom left, under objects, we can drag our image into, I'll bring it into the top left. And then you can choose any image. You can get a Netflix logo from online if you like. I'll just choose, and we have the option here for Netflix logo. And if I open that and apply it, it's going to bring it in. Now we can't see it all until we fit, so we'll fit our image by clicking more options, fit image. And I also want to make it, well, you can leave it like this if you liked, or I'll make it floating and just make it a bit smaller. And then I'll bring it up. So now I want to match the color of the bars and the area chart to match this Netflix logo color. So let's just get the color first. So if we just click into layout, for example, more colors, we can hit pick screen color, and that allows us just to go over to the Netflix logo, and you can see we can get the HTML code by hovering into the Netflix logo. So let's go for this darker one, B1060F. So I'm going to add that to our custom colors and click OK. Now it has changed the background, but I'm going to change that back to none. I just wanted to get the HTML code. And then if we go to our sheet and click into color, more colors, and now we can click into our custom color, which is the same. And now it has changed the color of these bars, and I'll do the same for our other charts as well. I'll just make this legend slightly bigger. Okay, so for our area chart, it's a bit more difficult because whenever we click into color and edit colors, we actually have to select one of the colors Tableau provides. Otherwise, we would need to add our own custom palette here, which we'll not get into in this video. But if we click into red, you could still select for movie, for example, we'll click a darker red, and for TV show, just to highlight a difference, we'll click on a lighter color. And when we apply that, you can see we have two different colors. It's almost a more pink color for TV show, but that's fine. And I've made it a little more opaque, so you can see opacity here. We can, if it's 100%, it's quite, we can make it more see-through. So I'll bring it down to 60%. Okay, and then, yeah, we have a similar color theme here. So it's, yeah, you would need to add your own custom palette if you wanted to match these hash codes. But for now, I'll just leave it like this. And what we can do now, we can just save to Tableau Public before we start working on our second dashboard. So file, save to Tableau Public, and you will need to sign in again, and you can just name it whatever you like. I'll name this one Netflix WIP for work in progress, and then just click on save, and it's going to save it to, it's going to open a browser and save it, but you will need to allow access again. Okay, and then it's saving. Okay, and then you'll see that it saves it into Google Chrome. So I do a little more on Power BI in my Udemy course, I add in genres and countries, for example. But it's hard to do that with this data set until we actually clean it up a bit, which I do also do in the Udemy course. Because currently, if we were to add, we can add countries available, for example. I'll change this font. I'll just change the format for this particular one. It's got a combination. It's showing the combination of each show. It would be better to split these and make it relational. So it's very hard. It wouldn't look very good in a dashboard until we actually do that. So I'll just delete that sheet and then we can start on our next dashboard now. Okay, so the first thing, I'll just add another sheet and we'll add our sheets that we're going to put into this next dashboard. And it's just going to be a dashboard with a single title filter, which just displays, the rating, the directors for each movie that we select. So let's start with rating. All we need to do is just drag rating into text. And so now it's showing every single rating. You won't be able to see that. I'll just format and change the font to be black. Okay, and it's showing every rating. But what we'll be doing is we can add in our title into filters. And let's just select use all. But whenever we right click this title and show the filter, it's going to show up on the right hand side. And you can currently select multiple titles, but since every title is selected, it's showing all the ratings. But if we just show this as a single value, we'll do a drop down. It means that we can search for the title. So let's start with, for example, Pulp Fiction. We'll select that and then we can see it's rated R. So we can only select one at a time here. So it's always only going to show one. So I'll just rename this rating. And then let's duplicate it by right clicking the rating sheet and selecting duplicate. And then we'll rename and put duration. Okay, then we need to remove rating and drag in duration into text. So it's one season. So since there's movies and TV shows, it would be good to actually bring in type here as well, just to show what type it is. So we'll bring that into rows. And then it's going to say that it's actually a movie, which is 57 minutes. So we can just right click and hide the field labels. Make it a little bigger by dragging down. And let's also remove those row dividers. You'll see them here under our borders. In our format, we'll just change that to none. So we have rating and duration. So let's duplicate duration. And now we'll add in our release year. So I'll just remove type as well and drag in our release year into text. 2020. Just rename this release year. So what we also might want to do is add in a field which just says release year, just to show that that's what we're displaying. Since there's another column here which is called year added or date added, we just don't want to confuse ourselves. So we could either create a calculated field by selecting the arrow here, create calculated field, and just putting release year. It has to be in double quotation marks. I'll just name it title, and then that's just a string that says release year, and that's all it's going to display. Or I'll just delete this. What I prefer to do, because if you keep doing that, you end up with a lot of fields here on the left hand side. You can just double click into rows and we'll just type release year, and that's just going to show it there, and it'll only apply to this worksheet. It won't show up on the left hand side. Okay, I'll just resize some of that. Let's duplicate it. And then we'll also just bring in our cast. So our filter here is being applied to all these sheets as well. So it's useful that we're duplicating, because if we add a new sheet, the filter disappears. Okay, and I'm just going to rename this cast. And then we'll drag our cast into text as well. So it's going to be a bigger field. It has multiple cast members in it. So I'm just making it slightly bigger. Duplicate director. And then we'll just drag in director. So sometimes there is two directors as well. I've noticed that. Well, we know Pulp Fiction would just be Tarantino, so it's just got the one. And then we'll also do description and our categories. So we'll just duplicate these. And then we want our movie description. We're going to format these as well once we put it together in our dashboard. So categories. Oh, it's listed in. Yep, that's the name of it. Yep, so this one's 3. Got 3 categories. And then, yeah, let's just add a map as well. So I will duplicate it just so that we have. This shows where our countries available will be. We'll keep the filter in there. And to add a map, you can just double click country. So our country fields on the left hand side here, we'll double click that and it's going to create a map for us that we can zoom in, and it shows which countries it's available in. So currently I can't drag around the map because it's set to highlight, but we can just change that and the arrow here to our 4 arrows pan, and that allows us just to move and zoom in and out. So we can make the size of the circles bigger as well, and I'm also going to change the color of them. Okay, and I want to make this dashboard also dark themed, so we can change our map up the top here, map, background maps, and it allows us to, we have normal, we have streets as well, but I'm going to make it dark. Okay, so now we have multiple sheets. So what I'm going to actually do first is we're going to hide our charts. So you can hold control, just highlight and hide our charts. And that means you can't hide this dashboard, but we don't want to. So now we have all our other sheets that we're going to put. So we're going to put them into a new dashboard. We could add a new dashboard again, but instead of doing that, I'm going to duplicate our previous one because I want to keep the same formatting and I want to keep this image. So we can right click and duplicate that also. Rename it title filter, and then yeah, we can just X out these charts now. So this is going to be a floating dashboard. I'm going to have so our sheets on the left hand side here, I'm going to make them all floating. So let's start with our rating. We'll just drag it in anywhere. By default it will make it tiled, which means that it's set on the left hand side, and our filter automatically comes in with it. So let's just make it floating by, again, more options and floating. Okay, now we want our font to be white again. And what we'll do, we'll fit this to sheet, fit, right click, fit entire view, and then it's there. I'll hide our title. Yeah, maybe we'll bring in, I'll go to this sheet and maybe we'll bring in a row that just says rating, just so we know what we're displaying. Hide the field label, and then I'll hide our row dividers also. Okay, so if we want to right click and format this, let's change our font and our background. So in our fill bucket, you can just remove the background and then we won't see anything. Our font is still currently black, but I'm going to change the background just to be a lighter gray color. We can do 3D, 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 for example, and then it just comes out as a lighter gray color. And then we can format our workbook similar to before and make our font be a white color or a silver color. We could make it bold if we like. And I'm going to, yeah, there's quite a lot of formatting. It can take a bit of time. If we want to center our pane and our header, we can align them like this. Yeah. Make it a bit smaller and bring it up to the top here. Yeah, we can make our font bigger as well. We could even make it, we can match the red color of the Netflix. If we wanted. It's quite hard to see actually. So maybe we'll keep it white. I just hit Control and Z there. And if we click into it as well, under layout, we could add a border. Don't know how thick we want to make it. We can change our thickness here, and we could add our red border to it. So yeah, we could leave it like that. So we have our rating. Let's just make this bigger, this font. Let's make it 14. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, and then now we have to do the same for, I want to put rating, the release year and the duration at the top, and then we'll put the actual details inside. So let's bring in duration. As I said, it's going to automatically bring it in tiled, but we can just go to more options and make it floating. And now we have to do the same again, hide our title, fit our entire view, and change the background. Okay, so we'll need to get the background color of our other container. So let's just copy our HTML here, Control and C, and I'm going to add it to this instead. Control and B. Center our pane and header. And what size did we make them? 14. Yep. And then we can just bring it up beside. And our floating containers here, let's click into it. And if we go to layout again, we have our position, so we can match the Y position because our Y axis is on the left hand side. We can match it with our box beside it, and we can also make the size the same. So first I'll add in a background. Not a background, sorry, a border. Same as beside it, but let's make the size the same. So our Y-axis is on 15, but we won't match the X-axis because it's to the right of it. So 15, 327, and 71. Okay, we were close. 15, 327, and 71. Yep, I think that looks fine. And then we'll do the exact same thing now for our release year. So I'm just going to bring it in. Floating, fit entire view, hide title, and format. Again, I forget what size, 14. And then we'll copy our 15, 327, and 71. Oh, we just need to move it to the right. Okay, and then we'll add our border. So now it's brought in each title, but we only need one. So let's now bring in our cast. And we'll do the same thing. So I've still got my HTML code pasted in the clipboard. Yeah, we can center that as well. Let's put the cast here. We'll put the description at the top left. And then we can also add our borders. So the formatting can be quite repetitive, but it's necessary, and it can be quite fun if you want to. You can make it look much different than this if you prefer. Our director. Paste that in. And center it. Okay, I'm just going to keep deleting some of these titles just to make room. So we're going to want to position this the same as our x-axis on the container below, and we're going to want to make it the same size also. So I'll click into the container below. We have 831, 438 and 185. 831, 438 and 185. Okay, I need to go up a bit. And yeah, I need to add a border. Our categories. Fit entire view and hide title. We'll center it. Yep. Eight 831 438 185. Very close. Okay, and then two more to do. We'll bring in our map and our description. It's floating. Fit our entire view. It's always good to do all this practice as well, so that you'll be very used to doing it. Now, since we only have two here, we don't have to line them up with our boxes to the right. I'm going to just center that. And then last but not least, we'll bring in our map and make it floating. Okay, I might change the color of this circle to be red. Let's see if we can add a border to this as well. Yeah, just shows where it's available. Yeah, let's make it red. And we can make it more opaque as well, just so you can actually see the name of the country. Okay, now let's just delete these titles. So this may only work for the one that it's referencing. So actually, whenever we go to this rating then, because this is what the title references, we'll go to Sheet, right click our filter, and we'll apply it to all the worksheets that we want. So selected worksheet, and then we don't want to apply it to our worksheets which are in our other dashboard. So not our charts, but everything else. And then if we click on OK, now it's going to reference all of them. So let's pick something. Raging Bull. Yeah, Robert De Niro, everything. So that is it for now. We could add also just some headers, just showing what this is: the director, the cast, and the categories. So yeah, let's just do that. We'll just start with director, and it'll be in columns this time. Just write director, and then it will show up. We always just have to hide our field labels, and we can make it slightly bigger just because it's a title. Yeah, 16's fine. Let's actually make, yeah, maybe we'll make it 20. How does that look? Yep, that's fine. And then this will be cast. We might just need to drag down a little. Director, cast. Yeah, it's trial and error. Maybe I'll make the titles a little smaller. 18. And then our categories. Okay, 18 and 16. Yep, I think that looks a bit better. You just edit the title and center it. Yeah. Okay, now we can select anything and we can just search for it. So Arrested Development, for example, it's going to work for everything. So unfortunately, we don't see the director here. Sometimes the data's just missing, and it's just the way it is. But yeah, it's here for most of them. It will have the director and the cast. And now we can just save this again, file, and save to Tableau Public. Overwrite what we had. Okay, and now we have our single title filter on our browser, and we can search anything we want. Let's search Terminator, for example. So it's obviously only going to show a title if it's available in the data, but we can see now we have an overview of the movie. Okay, I hope you liked this course, and thank you for watching. It's a great industry to be in at the moment, and there's plenty of opportunities to grow your career as well. And if you do want to learn some more advanced Tableau and SQL topics, again, you can just access my course in the description. Thanks.